Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Challenge podcast. This is episode 5, where we'll be talking about a Game Week 3 review. And I'm joined yet today by co host Leighton, all the way from South Korea. Hi, Leighton. How are you?
I'm so impressed that you got the game week correct and which video this is correct. You've been practicing, I think.
You know, it's been a rough week because
Yeah.
not only have you reminded me, but other people have reminded me too, and me having to watch this and edit it. So yeah, I will not lie. I have definitely been practicing just to avoid that in future. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How about you?
No complaints. Kind of happy that it's an international break, even though it's only been 3 weeks. It's a bit of a stop start,
Hmm.
but yeah, not a
Yeah.
bad game week. I think I
Yeah.
forgot to change the overall ranks, but on the stream, I think I put the ranks there, but I didn't put the green or red arrow. I think we've both had red arrows this
Mine's
week, but
definitely yeah.
yeah, we've both had red arrows this week, but that green
Yeah.
arrow is right there next to our name, so it's a hopefully a potential of our future right there. Okay, in today's show, we're going to be talking about a review of Game Week 3, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're going to go over the international break and the whole COVID-19 protocols issue again. I've updated it slightly, and we'll talk about some of the news as it's breaking. Um, After that, we're going to be looking at some team stats for game weeks 1 to 3, and maybe some individual stats as well. And then, of course, we're going to head into the big discussion of whether to wildcard or not at the moment with all the massive signings that have come into the game. So, very big topic. We will not be talking about the plans for the next game week yet because there's a massive gap between now and game week 4. So, we're going to let the games happen and take it from there.
Yeah. I think there's a name on everybody's lips this transfer window, and that's Connor Roberts, who's gone to Burnley. What a player.
Absolute legend of a Swansea player, right?
Legend. Wales's finest defender.
I'm not going to lie, I don't know anything about him.
I just know he's Welsh.
And that's all you need to know, really. Hopefully, he does well at
Yeah.
Burnley. Fullbacks usually do well at Burnley, so hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. And then the next player everyone's talking about is Dan James, gone to Leeds United. Wow.
For those who don't know why he's mentioning that, why are you mentioning Dan James?
Because he's Wales's finest player, except Gareth Bale. You know.
Yeah, he's on the rise, right?
Yeah. Any other transfers you're excited about?
Personally, from a Chelsea standpoint, probably uh, a midfield signing, Saul Niguez, or Niguez, I don't know how to say it.
Hmm.
And I think we're looking for a centre back, but I think both of those deals might not go through. So I'm more interested in us keeping our players than selling them at the moment.
Yeah.
Can
But
you hear
other
me
than that,
clearly?
there's not many fantasy football transfers happening. Yeah, I can hear you absolutely perfectly.
Okay, good. We'll get into a few more of the transfers shortly, but let's have a look at your Game Week 3 review.
Hmm.
On screen, we have
Yeah.
you got no, I lie, 52 points this game week, and you made one free transfer, right? And that was Jorginho to Ben Rama. You had two free transfers, but you
I
only used
too.
one.
I decided to roll one over. I thought just in case. I only really wanted to make one change. I really wanted to stick with Barnes because he had Norwich. He's been such a big disappointment in my team. And so I thought, I'll stick with him. It's Norwich. He might get an assist or something. Obviously, nothing happened. So that was a shame. Then I bring Ben Rama in. He does nothing as well. I'm a bit late on this bandwagon. I decided not to bring in Antonio, which was a terrible decision. And then I had a really, a mare with my captaincy choice because I originally chose Calvert-Lewin, and I think maybe a couple hours before, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna choose Fernandez. They're playing Wolves. They must be raring to go. You know, they have a new signing coming to Manchester United soon. So I went with Fernandez, and unfortunately, hindsight is a beautiful thing, and he only got 4 points with my captaincy.
Overall, though,
At one point, I checked the scores, and he had a yellow card, so he was on 0 points, and I thought, wow, great.
typical result from your captain when you veer off the popular choice, right?
Yeah, but otherwise, I got really high points. 52 points for such a bad captain, like Grealish, Salah. My defense came through. Calvert-Lewin got himself a penalty. So otherwise, I was pretty happy with the team performance. It's the same old story for Leighton. Captain doesn't come through.
Yeah, you had five returns there. You had, I mean, Salah, Grealish, Calvert-Lewin, Tony, and Shaw, and
Yeah,
some points
sure.
from Trent as well. But
Yeah.
what
And
was I going to
Tony
say?
finally scored.
Yeah, I was going to mention that Tony finally scored. So if you had used your second
Yeah.
free transfer, it would have been to facilitate Antonio to Tony, or
Yeah.
Tony to
Yeah.
Antonio, but you chose not to
Yeah.
this week.
I chose not to just because I would have probably had to have taken a hit to fit Antonio and Ben Rama in my team. So I decided there's no point.
Yeah. Okay.
I know there wasn't, right? So
You must have had a bit of, not regret after seeing the Man City result, but you had Grealish. You must have had high hopes heading into that game, and then you only got an assist despite the 5-0
yeah.
win.
Yeah, so it's a frustrating one when you see Man City have won 5-0 and a 100 million signing hasn't even scored a goal. It's a shame. It's yeah, Grealish hasn't really hit the heights yet.
He's
I'd hope.
he's doing okay. He's got a goal and an assist so far, but it's not amazing at this stage. Kind of, I would
I mean, a
almost,
golden assist in the first 3 games.
yeah.
It's not terrible.
I mean, if you compare his price, he's 8 million, right? And you then compare him to someone
Mhm.
like Danny Ings, who's a forward, but he is 8 million,
Yeah.
and in his three
Yeah.
games, he's gotten 2 goals and 1 assist. So it's not
Mm.
way off if you look at it that
Not
way.
way off.
But yeah, I think I'm assuming this week, even before the next game week, you've probably gotten rid of Barnes already, right?
I got rid of Barnes the second. I literally mean the second that game was over because I knew his price was going to plummet. Because I think many people like me thought, going to keep Barnes for Norwich. So he was out of my team because I thought I've lost so much value. First, not having West Ham players. And second, keeping on to this guy. And so, yeah, I got rid of him. I brought in someone similar price, a certain Manchester City player. He might be just a placeholder because I could wildcard. But yeah, I've brought in a Man City player for 7 million. Can you guess who?
Is it? It's not Gundogan because he was 7.4. So it
No,
must be the man of the
no.
moment, Torres, right? Ferran Torres.
The man of the moment. Bring him in.
I don't blame you for doing that, and it's going to be a very popular move going forward. I think to afford the big hitters, especially if
I think
City
so.
don't sign a striker, then they're probably going to play Torres. And that means you're going to have a 7 million striker in your midfield, so it makes sense.
Exactly. So I thought I'm not going to lose out because I think many people would transfer him in. So I got him in early so his price could rise as well. So
And it
you,
definitely
you
will,
know,
I think, at least.
yeah,
And then even if you don't
I think so.
wildcard, you could end up getting rid of Grealish if need be. Because I think if
Yeah,
you had to choose between those two players, I think you would keep Torres over Grealish.
absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway, let's have a look at my team. I finished on 50, 57 points. What did you have anything more to say about your team?
No, no, I didn't. I just don't want to look at your team. It's always go from my team and then go to yours. Well, I got 5 more points than you. Great, great.
Just pure luck, though. Okay, I got 57, right? And
Mm,
I guess in a way, you say that it was 5 points more. But if you think about it, if you look at the moves that I made, it could have been so
yeah,
much worse for you in a sense because I got rid of Gundogan and Tony this week, and I got Ben Rama
yeah.
and Dennis. Gundogan, obviously, the day that I take him out my team, he scores the first goal against Arsenal, and not only just a goal, but a header, which makes no sense. But
He's like this big, isn't he?
he's minute. But on top of that, the and that's big coming from me, calling him minute. But yeah, Tony doing the same thing. And again, he was a last minute decision. I got rid of him more because of my plans for the future. So he was going
Mm,
down, Dennis was going up, and I wanted a third striker who was cheap but who was still playing. So he was the cheapest one option at like 5 million. So I went with him, and I've got like 2 or 3 million in the bank. But Tony scored. So overall, I think thankfully Tony got booked as well, so he didn't get any bonus points. So I think overall,
mm.
Gundogan got 6 or 7 points, and then Tony got 6 or 7 points. So overall, I'd lost maybe, yeah, about 8 points. But I think going forward, I like the look of my team overall. So
Yeah, I think it's really good. Do you think you were forced into that change with Ben Rama as well because of his price increase?
um, I wouldn't say forced for that reason. I would say more the case of after game week 2, Gundogan was always going to be out of my team. After Norwich, I knew
Yeah.
whether Arsenal were playing badly or not, he was going. So I'm not even upset about losing those points on him. As a as for a replacement, unfortunately at that stage Greenwood had gone up already and Gundogan had dropped, so I couldn't afford him. And the next
Mm,
best player in form and fixtures was Ben Rama. And once again, thinking ahead to trying to afford a big hitter, whether it be Lukaku or Kane or now a Mr. Ronaldo, it just made sense to get someone cheaper in form and then have that money for the future game weeks.
yeah.
So yeah, thankfully, I captained Antonio because he really saved my game week and got a goal and assist and some bonuses. So 22 points from him. Salah with a lovely penalty, which helped me as well. Although being a supporter of Chelsea, that wasn't a great situation. But yeah, we'll take what you can get. A clean sheet from Shaw, and that's considering the fact that I was considering selling him as well. But long term now, last week we discussed potentially selling him for James, right? And then James gets sent off. So yay, right?
I definitely wasn't going to replace him with a Chelsea player. James was a good consideration at the time, but when I saw James was sent off, I remember thinking, whew, dodged a bullet there.
We mentioned that we were potentially going to be getting a Spurs defender. I think we were both pretty keen on that. I
Yeah, I
think.
think so. I can't remember what we said. There's so many potential options downgrading Shaw to a Tottenham player or
Yeah,
an
for these
Everton
two.
defender. Everton have such good fixtures.
Yeah, for these two game weeks, I think it made sense to go for Spurs or Everton. But yeah,
Yeah.
not the worst overall. Everyone, I think the average was about 60, so or was it 58? But yeah, regardless, we were slightly lower, which isn't
Yeah.
bad. And I think heading into
I think your captain saved your team, and my captain choice kind of made it so I didn't do quite as bad. But it's not terrible. I'm not too disappointed.
yeah, it's not a bad thing if your decision ends up not working out. I think if you have a sound reasoning for your decision and there's a legitimate basis for why you made the decision, then it doesn't matter what the outcome is as long as you made a relatively convincing decision initially to you. But I I'm not too sure why you ended up switching your captaincy to Bruno at the end. Maybe it was a fear of Man United. I don't know because you were very high on DCL until deadline.
Yeah, I was. I don't know. Playing this fantasy game sometimes just before the deadline, you start questioning yourself too much. I should have just left it on DCL and said, I trust him. That was it. He might not have been playing because of his toe injury.
You're right, yeah.
So that's why I changed it because I was reading he got a toe injury. He might not play. And I thought he might not play the entire game if he does play. And I looked at my team and I thought, I don't have the stones to captain Grealish. Salah's playing Chelsea. So I remember the next best choice was Fernandez. That's why.
Understand. Who's your vice captain? Calvert-Lewin, obviously. Yeah, okay. Mine was Ings, so
I should have swapped it.
yeah. Moving on to the good, the bad, and the ugly. This week it's slightly shorter because I think it's kind of obvious for the large extent. Me, Man City, dominating performance, or Arsenal just terrible once again. What do you think?
It doesn't help when you have a player sent off.
They were 2-0 down before it happened, and they were playing
I know.
like poo.
Do you think Shaka just thought, I don't want to be in this game anymore? This is embarrassing. I'm going. I'm going off to Switzerland. I can't do this anymore.
May have been. I think he's club captain as well.
I imagine he's one of those players who's amazing for Switzerland, and now he's got the record amount of red cards in the Premier League or something, 5. So, yeah, I think Man City. The problem is, yeah, Man City were great, but yeah, Arsenal were terrible, and a sending off doesn't help. So it's hard to say, isn't it?
Considering the fact that Man City don't have a striker, they still beat them 5-0. Can you imagine if they had a striker?
I know, but not Arsenal, sorry, Man City's team is worth so much. Like they could field 2 teams and beat most of the Premier League.
Well, sure.
They have so much strength and depth in other areas with goal scorers everywhere. So were you shocked when Man City won 5-0? Because I wasn't.
After the red card, no. But
No.
prior to that, when they took a 2-0 lead, I was like, okay, fair enough. This could maybe end 3-0 or 3-1. But I wasn't expecting a cricket score, essentially. Second
Yeah.
best team for me, in my opinion, once again, maybe a little bit biased, was Chelsea. And speaking of red cards, once again, a red card right before halftime. A little bit contentious, but the exact opposite of Arsenal. We get a red card, and that entire second half we defend like champions and don't concede. Whereas Man City, Arsenal get a red card and concede. They just bend over basically.
You know, I find it funny whenever you talk about Chelsea, you say, oh, well, I might be a little bit biased, but to be fair, you're correct. Because when I saw Chelsea had a red card, I didn't think they were going to capitulate like Arsenal. I think it doesn't help Arsenal. We're 2-0 behind. You know, you're 2-0 down, you have a player sent off. If you're playing sport, psychologically, that's damaging. You're 2-0 down, Man City coming at you, what are you going to do? But Chelsea, on the other hand, I think they're a very mentally strong team. They trust the coach and they trust the process. And so they defended as a unit, as a team. And they were very impressive. So I agree. I would say Chelsea were more impressive than Man City just because to get a 1-1 at Anfield against Liverpool, that's pretty cool. That's pretty good. You must feel good as a Chelsea fan, no?
Yes, it's going to sound weird, but I've said it many times since Tuchel became our manager. But last season it was more a case of not being afraid of conceding at all. But we didn't have a striker last season, so it was more a case of me
Mm.
worrying that we were going to draw 0-0. But I was never worried about conceding. Now, this season, I think, okay, well, we can win the game, and I'm still not worried about conceding. So when we went to man down, I had no doubt in my mind that we could still win this game, or at least draw. I didn't think we would lose, which is good and surprising considering the fact that this team is largely the same, besides maybe a couple of signings that Lampard had. and within like less than a month, Tuchel's system change and his focus just turned us into a good defensive team.
And I'd actually argue that the two best player managers in the league were going head to head. Both Klopp and Tuchel, I think, are incredible.
Very good, yeah. I mean, Liverpool were playing, they started, I forgot his name, Phillips, the midfielder. He's like 18 years old, was his second start in a massive game. And
Yeah.
he played pretty well as well. So I think it's, when it comes to man management, giving players the opportunity to flourish in big games is important. And we're seeing that with Klopp has done that since day one with Liverpool, and Chelsea are doing very similar.
I mean, you say that, but I think as well, going back to Frank Lampard put a lot of youngsters out when Chelsea were coming off the transfer ban, right?
Yeah,
So I think Frank Lampard gave them a lot of minutes, and then Tuchel's come in and he's just strengthened them up. And with a few little tweaks, and with a player like Lukaku to come in, that's a strong looking team.
at the end of the day, I think it's just experience in management. Just it took a little bit of nous to turn
Yeah, I think
Lampard's
so.
team into a good team.
Yeah, Frank
Speaking,
Lampard. Yeah,
sorry,
but yeah, let's move on.
speaking of good teams, defensive teams, Spurs 1-0 once again. It's becoming predictable. Third game in a row. Did you watch this game?
Nope, I didn't. Sorry, Spurs. Uh, but I watched the highlights, and another 1-0 victory for Spurs. And Spurs have this knack of starting seasons off really strong up until Christmas, and then January, February, they just something goes wrong. I don't know if it's their squad is so thin on the ground, but 9 points from the first three games, including Man City, I think that's pretty impressive, right? And
Uh,
Kane is not firing. Is something wrong with Kane still?
yes, I mean he essentially wants to leave, but I think it'll take him a while. Maybe after the international break, he'll get back into the swing of things. But
Yeah, I mean,
you,
not even that. In the Euros, he didn't look great.
that's true. Yeah, he was more of a leader, I would say, which is good. I think
So
they shouldn't be over relying on him. It's good if the team can like
yeah,
make weight, help out. But do you
yeah,
think that you were considering bringing Son in last weekend and you
yeah.
didn't? Do you regret that?
No,
Oh,
no.
okay.
Yes, yes, I do. I do regret it because I was going to bring in Son and I didn't. And obviously, he goes and scores. I think Son Heung-min is going to be one of the top scorers in this game. I wish I had him in from the start. To be honest, he's one of my favorite players in the league.
It's very annoying. Like I totally agree with you, but it's a case of juggling different assets, right? So if you got Son in the beginning, then you wouldn't have been able to afford probably Calvert Lewin.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
you'd be losing somewhere else. And for me, I just couldn't get that. And even if I'd considered it slightly going into game week 3, but as soon as I think Son was a slight doubt heading into last week, so I was not going to chance it. And that was ultimately the reason why I didn't get him. I didn't know that Kane was going to play, and that scares me quite a lot now because many people have brought Kane in. So,
Yeah.
are you interested in a Kane and Son double up like last season?
Uh, I think now, because of certain transfers, Lukaku and Ronaldo, you already mentioned him. I think it's very hard to be able to get Kane in the team. It's very hard to get more than two premium players, maybe three. So if I want Salah, I want Ronaldo. Fitting in a Son Heung-min as well is very hard. I don't see Kane in my plans right now, but it depends on the fixtures. Like if the fixtures turn and Tottenham have amazing fixtures, and I think Chelsea don't have fixtures, and I have Lukaku, I could just say, well, Lukaku to Kane if the money's in the bank. But Son Heung-min is definitely one I'll be keeping my eye on. I think he's he's going to be the top scorers.
For Spurs, for sure.
No, for the whole league.
Really? I'm convinced.
Well, no, I mean top point scorer in the fantasy football.
Yeah. So, I mean, you think he's going to
Yeah.
outscore Lukaku, Kane, Bruno, Salah,
Uh, I mean,
Ronaldo?
he has one more game than Lukaku. I think he'll outscore Ronaldo just because he had 3 extra games, but you never know.
We'll have to see. And that's the big question, right? Which big hitters do we focus on?
Exactly.
Yeah. Man United. I hate to put them there, but, you know, they were resilient once again. And setting that away record, they somehow always find a way not to lose when they're playing away from home. Did you watch this game?
Fergie time. No, I caught a couple of minutes and it was really late or early in the morning here, and I turned it on off. I was like, this is boring.
It was quite a boring game until like the last few minutes whenever
10
Greenwood
minutes or
scored.
something.
Yeah. But
I turned it on, and then out of frustration, I turned it off because I thought, you know what, Fernandez is not going to score. He's my captain. I hate this game.
oh yeah, he was your captain. That's even worse. I remember you said, yeah, that's when you told me 0 points. And
Yeah.
before that, before the game, I said the only person I'm afraid of in this game is Greenwood. And of course he had to score. It's so frustrating. But fair play to whoever got him.
Yeah. Yeah. My co-worker who also plays the game, he's had Greenwood in since the first day of the season, and he's absolutely running away. It's it's annoying.
We'll have to see what he ends up doing or what everyone else is doing going forward. I think many people might end up trying to wildcard or change too much from a position of power. It
Yeah.
happens quite often, so we'll have to see. If you were to
I
on
think a
paper,
lot of people will change.
yeah, right now, if I asked you to choose between Ronaldo or Bruno or both in big hitters, who would you go for?
Yeah. Ronaldo.
Reason? Because he's Ronaldo?
Well, Ronaldo's a proven goal scorer for what, 14 plus years? How long ago was he at Manchester United? 10 years ago? 12 years ago?
I want to say 11, around then, more
I
or
mean,
less.
he's slowing down. He scored 29 goals in the Italian league last year. He's just going to be a box player. He's going to score. He's, if he's on penalties, we don't know who's on penalties as well. And just choose Ronaldo. I think Ronaldo. He's only 0.5 more. He's a striker. Yeah, I see Ronaldo. I can imagine Ronaldo comes in against Newcastle and bags 3 goals, and he'll think, "Wow, this Premier League is easy." Newcastle, Saint who? Saint Ronaldo. That's who. That's what he'll be saying at Saint James.
Saint Ronaldo's. Yeah, I think I'm probably going to leave it late. I'm not going to bring him in yet. If I get assurances that he might start, then maybe. But if there's any doubt that
But
he won't play, then I'm not
mm,
going to get him.
mm.
I'll captain Bruno in
here's
that
my
case.
here's my other worry. I think the person who will be most transferred out to afford Ronaldo is Bruno. So I wouldn't be shocked to see his price drop. And then Ronaldo comes in, bags himself 3 goals, and everyone jumps on the Ronaldo train. His price will somehow go up.
Sure, that makes sense. But okay, I don't know his price at the moment. Let me look.
Who,
Fernandez
Ronaldo?
is no.
12.5.
No. Fernandez is currently 12.1, so he can
Yeah.
drop once,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't feed anything, which is fine. So for that reason, I don't mind waiting. But if
Hmm.
he, if I see that he might fall a second time, that might, you know, force my hand a bit. But we'll have to see.
I'm very tempted by a wild card. Very early wild card. Get Ronaldo in. Hello, Newcastle. 3 goals.
Who were the bad in this game week?
Uh,
Oh,
Leeds, Wolves. Who else?
and Brighton.
Or Brighton.
I mean, I put Brighton there. It's a bit harsh, I think, on all three of these teams. It was To me, I wouldn't say that they were all bad, but if I were to pick a bad team this week, it would have been them. Because Brighton,
Yeah.
as you've mentioned, they're always good defensively over the last season, and yet they constantly concede. It must suck to be a supporter of Brighton because there's so much hope in that team, and then you get to like the 70th minute and it just gets ruined.
You say that it must suck to be a Brighton supporter, but what you don't consider is that 10 years ago, they were playing in like League Two. When I was young, they were in a conference league. The way Brighton has grown, they got to the championship, they had a few seasons in the championship, and then they come to the Premier League. Brighton are doing amazingly. I think their fans are still on cloud nine
Well,
that they're in the Premier
overall,
League.
overall, yes, but like
I mean,
they can see that they're getting better, right? So they know
yeah,
that they're this close to just taking that small step into like I would say mid-table security.
the
Yet,
Seagulls are flying high already, Challen.
fine. Do you regret? do you regret
I
having?
rain on his parade.
Do you regret having a double up of both Sanchez and Duffy in your team?
I have a double up of Sanchez and Duffy.
Yeah, you've got Duffy in defense and you've got Sanchez the goalkeeper, which means that if you play,
Oh, yeah,
if
you're
you
right. No, I don't mind. Sanchez is 4.5. He's in goal. I don't really care. He's in there and I've forgotten. And Duffy, he's on the bench. Who cares?
I mean, I can understand that. I think I'm not going to change my goalkeeper until I eventually wildcard, and until then, I'm happy to keep them because sometimes they do keep clean sheets. They don't get many save points, but occasionally they get a clean sheet.
I think not many people are wasting their budget on goalkeepers this year. It's go big or go home.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And the opposite of
So no,
the
don't regret it.
three consecutive wins, 1-0 for Spurs, we have Wolves with their third consecutive 0-1 loss. Yet they've been playing really well.
You were talking about this last week, saying about the stats and Wolves. It's just inevitable. They're going to score. They're playing great,
They are.
but doesn't look like it.
I mean, yes, on paper,
Stats
but
are just stats.
no. Do you watch them? Like even the game against United, they played really well.
Yeah, you know what? I think Wolves will turn it around and are going to have a good run. I think they've had some tricky opening games as well.
They did, and their fixtures get really good now. I'll show you the fixture swing just now when we get to fixtures.
Yeah, coming off the back of Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United, only 1-0 defeats. It's not too bad.
I think if you were to compare Wolves with the next team, Leeds had a slightly
Yeah.
better start, but they didn't get the win again. They must have expected a win against Burnley, but didn't get it. Are you tempted by any Leeds players or Wolves players?
Uh, I'm tempted by a Wolves player going forward because he looks like a rugby player. Traore, how do you say his name?
Traore.
Traore. Traore. He should be playing rugby, man. He's a massive guy. He's like a unit. With Leeds, I think Leeds fixture swing is absolutely incredible as well. The thing is, if I wild card, I can't see myself fitting in Bamford. His price is more than Antonio,
Yeah,
and even with that fixture swing, I don't see it. And very similar to Calvert Lewin's price, and not maybe a Leeds player in the midfield. Dan James has just moved there. Rafinha, maybe. I'm not sure.
I think for me, I own Rafinha, as you know, and
Oh,
unfortunately, with the
I
international
forgot about
break,
that.
yeah, the international break coming, we'll have to see if he's affected by it. I don't think he is, but I'm happy to keep him. As for Bamford, I might. He's in my thoughts, put it that way, and we'll discuss transfers and stuff next week or closer to game week 4. But I think both Wolves and Leeds are both in my thoughts going forward. got some plans in mind, so I'll mention them in the next couple of weeks. So
He's a good punt, isn't he? With those fixtures coming up, it's just green, 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 green. So
who Traore?
uh, Traore and Bamford.
True, yeah, they're both good.
Yeah.
What I wanted to mention about Traore is that I saw links even this morning of him potentially being looking for a move to Spurs. So
Yeah, I saw that too. That would be if he goes to Spurs, he'll be in my team soon.
I wouldn't care. I would not pick him if he was
Really?
at Spurs. Yeah,
Why? He's got Son Heung-min and Harry Kane with him. Oh,
because he won't play immediately. I don't see him playing. He's not a great finisher. He'll be like second or third
yeah.
fiddle in that team, as opposed to Wolves, where he's one of the top two. Leighton, who do you think the ugly of this game week is? I'm not going to say a single word. I'm just going to show them, and then
Uh, I would be shocked if the Chelsea fan picked Arsenal as the ugly team. I think everybody's picking Arsenal. Arsenal fans are picking Arsenal. Where's Norwich? Are we talking about Norwich?
no,
Are they
because
going to be in the ugly?
they scored a goal last week, and it was actually
Well, that's true.
competitive. It was competitive against
Yeah.
Leicester's game, but Arsenal were just bad.
Are you, are you surprised that Arteta is still in a job for Arsenal?
Yes and no. Yes, because I'm a Chelsea supporter who it doesn't take much for our manager to sack our manager, oh, for our owner to sack our managers. So I'm used to that
Yeah.
kind of ruthlessness.
Ruthlessness. Yeah.
However, Arsenal are run by businessmen and they don't really focus on the results that much. So they're willing to just let him do his thing as long as they get the results, like at the end of the season. But
I mean, do we have to talk about Arsenal's bad luck to the start of the season? They bring in Ben White, he gets corona. Aubameyang, Lacazette had corona. I've heard rumors that Lacazette might be going as well, possibly. Do Arsenal have excuses to why they're being so bad?
I'm sure there are reasons, and I'm not overall bashing the club, but I feel
Yeah.
like they should be able to have not foreseen this, but have planned better. Like they could have made more signings for their squad, and it's gotten to the stage where it's deadline day now. Uh, at least the one good thing that's happened is Willian uh, agreed to just cancel his contract, so that saved him like £20 million over 2 years. But besides that, they're trying to sign one random player, a defender from Italy, I think, and despite that, that's one signing, and they're letting Hector Bellerin, one of their best wingbacks, not that he's been consistent over the last couple of years, but he's one of their better players going forward, and they're letting him go on loan to Spain. And on top of that, they're not letting one of their young players go to Everton on loan for game time because they say they want to use him. And then after saying that, they've told him to go practice alone by himself. So the logic is lacking.
It's a shame. It's a shame in a way because Arsenal have really fallen and they're just so far behind the rest of the teams. And when you look at these other teams, Chelsea get Lukaku, Manchester United get Ronaldo, Liverpool haven't really got anyone, but they've kept the nucleus of their team, had really good players come back from injury. Tottenham keep Kane, which is a victory, I think, for Tottenham. And Arsenal spend 200 million on on a backup goalkeeper and Ben White. I find it very bizarre.
Yeah, whatever it was, like 150 million or 120. We'll have to see.
I thought it was 200. I thought it was 200 plus. I know they spent the most, but on the field, they're just an absolute mess. Last year, defensively, so solid. This year, awful, abysmal.
We can only hope that they're going to get better, right? They're playing Norwich next. So fingers crossed.
I mean, Norwich are going to be the whipping boys of the Premier League, but even they will look at Arsenal and say, this is a game we can finally win.
Absolutely.
But I still think Arsenal will smack them up.
At least Arsenal, looking at the protocols and the international break and the players affected by it, Arsenal aren't really affected that much in that sense. They have Pepe and Partey, but nobody's really
Yeah.
considering them for their fantasy teams. But
No.
looking at the news, I think in terms of updates, I think some of the teams, I think FIFA decided that the Premier League can't just unilaterally decide not to send their players to represent their countries. So they are expecting them to play for their countries, but I think the players or the clubs are asking the players not to play against those countries who are on the red list.
From my understanding, is the players have agreed not to go to the red listed countries.
Yeah,
But I don't understand how that works because FIFA did say the clubs cannot do that and the players can't do that. Like if the country wants a player to play, the country has the right to call them up. So I'm not sure how it's going to work. There's going to be some power struggle going on between the Premier League and FIFA again.
yeah, I think to an extent, I think it's more a case of uh, the clubs have to let them go, but
Yeah.
once they're in the squad, the play it's more of like a kind of like a handshake agreement kind of thing where it's like, okay, I'll let him go play with you guys, but please don't play him 90 minutes in every game or else he's going to get injured, kind of thing, for example.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, the national team coach can either take heed of that or he can ignore it completely. So I think in the case of like some players, like Antonio got called up by Jamaica, and he's going to play, I think, the first game against Panama, I think, but he's not going to play the following two games against Cuba and someone else because they're on the red list. So in that
That's
sense,
what I read as well.
yeah, so he's safe in our teams. I think the Argentinian players have joined up with the squad, but I'm not sure what they've decided. So Martinez and Buendia are in a lot of teams, so we'll have to see what ends up happening there. Brazil have chosen, I think, they chose a squad that excluded the Premier League players, but I think that wasn't a
Did
final
they?
squad. Yeah, they did. They had a separate squad excluding the Premier League players, but they also had like a provisional list of the players of which they might add to the squad. At least that's what I
Because
saw.
there's a lot of Brazilian players in the Premier League. You'd think Brazil would be saying, hey, we need these players.
But it's Brazil at the end of the day too. Like they can probably win most of their games with
Oh,
other
yeah,
second-rate players, right? But
I think so.
when it comes to all of this, again, initially, if you're playing your wild card, by all means, you can probably sell these players. But if you're using your transfers, I would say wait for as long as possible
Yeah.
to first see what the international coaches do, and before you make your final decisions.
Sound advice, Challen.
It is. And then next up, we're
Must
looking
be
at.
a pro.
I wish. Next up, looking at team stats over the last 3 game weeks, just for you to take note. Doesn't really mean anything, but it's more just an indication, right, of current form probably. In terms of the team stats, this is looking sorted by attempts, the top three sides, Liverpool, Man City, and the team that hasn't scored yet, Wolves. Can you hear me?
Your favorite? Yeah, I can.
Okay, good. Yeah, my favorite Wolves. Yeah, they've got potential. And then West Ham, Everton, Man United, and Chelsea with Brighton up there as well. So I think if you look at those teams, they make up the majority of our FPL teams, right? Liverpool, Man
Yeah.
City, West Ham, Everton, United, and Chelsea, and Brighton. That's what the template has been,
It was pretty much
and
template spot on, isn't it?
that's probably why the template has done so well. Is because we've somehow managed to nail the majority of the teams that have been attacking and doing well.
Yeah, I went away from the template and Leicester are second to bottom of the attempts.
Yes, attempts.
Wonderful.
The worst ones are what Crystal Palace, Leicester, Villa, Arsenal, and Norwich. Right? Villa and Leicester, the surprises there, but I'm sure they'll get better with time.
Yeah, not surprised Arsenal are near the bottom.
yeah, like they're not, at least with Wolves, compare Wolves and Arsenal. Both of them haven't scored yet. Wolves are
Hmm.
creating chances, getting shots on goal, whereas Arsenal have literally had half the attempts of Wolves.
Did you see? Did you watch the Arsenal game?
Yes.
Did you see? I think it was Smith Rowe. He missed the empty net. He basically tackled the keeper and just smacked it wide. I was shocked. Like, how can you be paid so much money and miss from there? Come on.
It was a bit unlucky though. Although, but yes, to
But
an extent I
come
agree with you.
on.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's ready. He's there. He's in a good position. He's done the correct thing. Put pressure on the goalkeeper because that goalkeeper always plays in his feet. Yeah, you're doing the right thing. And then what do? Cross it.
Speaking of converted or not unconverted goals, the next stat
Yeah,
is team stats for best for converted chances. So top
yeah.
of that list is West Ham, expected.
West Ham. West
Second,
Ham.
Aston Villa, which is kind of surprising considering looking at the previous one where they were third last for
So
attempts
low.
created, or and then but their conversion stats have been very good, which is very typical of
They
Danny
don't
Ings.
waste.
Yeah,
Yeah, take a chance and bury it.
exactly. And the same with
I
Leicester.
think it's more difficult for teams like Aston Villa as well because they're not in the box as often as the other teams right now. So if you're in the box, take your chance.
Yeah, I think Aston Villa and Leicester play a counter-attacking style, so it makes sense that they won't have as many shots on target or shots on goal.
Yeah.
But you need to be clinical when you do get those chances, and they often are. With Leicester with Vardy and Villa with Ings and Watkins coming back, and to an extent, Man United as well. I mean, so far this season, Greenwood generally, whenever he gets a chance, he tends to put it away.
Yeah, I think Greenwood's been amazing, and it could be unfortunate for him that Ronaldo's been signed because they're never going to put Ronaldo on a bench watching Greenwood. Greenwood could lose his position or play deeper.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what they're going to do with their formation. I think it'll just be up front, and then they'll play Greenwood on the right, Sancho on the left, Bruno number 10, and then probably Rashford and Martial will be the reserve wingers, switching with Greenwood and Sancho. At least that's what I think. And then Cavani will be the second striker.
Yeah.
So there is space, but yeah, we'll have to see. The next graphic is more just showing the chances over the last 3 game weeks. It's a very nice graphic from Ted Talks FBL. He makes them and tweets them out. So all credit to him. It shows the small chances created, small chances, big chances created, and big chances. And it's very nicely summed up. And you'll see, in terms of the small chances created and big chances, Trent Alexander Arnold is top for both, which shows, once again, he's a guaranteed must have in our teams. Agreed?
Yeah. Machine. Yeah, absolutely.
Other players like Jimenez, Salah, Calvert-Lewin, Jesus, it's all like the usual suspects, all creating chances and taking chances as well. So once again, this just cements the fact that the template has done really well so far this season. There's no real surprise on this list, to
Yeah.
me at least.
I think one of the players to watch when you're talking about Wolves fixtures changing is how do you pronounce his name? Jimenez?
Jimenez.
Jimenez?
Yeah, Jimenez.
Jimenez. He's Spanish?
Mexican, but yes, basically.
Close. Spanish name. Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, he's right up there. He's creating these chances and Wolves fixtures. He's going to be a good one to watch, eh?
Yeah, big chances. Looking at the green table, big chances. Antonio, Calvert-Lewin, Callum Wilson is always there somehow. And then Ferran Torres and Thiago Jota, those two men of the moment as well. Who,
Yeah, Jota's one I wish I had in my team going forward as well, especially since Liverpool have announced a certain injury. He's going to get a lot of more playing time, I think.
I heard rumors about that, but I haven't seen confirmed. Is he injured? Firmino?
Yeah, he's injured. Yeah, Firmino was injured, I think maybe up to 2 months. Sustained quite an injury.
That's something to. That's quite important. Wow. Okay. Worth considering going forward, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Fixtures. Looking at game week 4 to 8. This time, a lot of people are wildcarding now. These fixtures are sorted in terms of just overall initially. Top of the fixture ticker: Wolves, Arsenal, Norwich, Brighton, and Watford. Wow.
Yeah,
Temp-
wow.
tempted by Arsenal?
No.
That's a bit of a joke, but yeah, I'm not tempted by them.
I,
But
I, I do think Arsenal will beat Norwich. They'll probably get a draw against Burnley. They'll lose against Tottenham. Just not excited about anything. Arsenal have the best fixtures. They might get 3 points here and there, but I don't know. They're like the Everton of 12 years ago. Just a mid-club table that said, we're a big team. We have so much history. Okay. That's nice.
definitely. Although this is a good chance for them to turn around, and I hope they do.
No, you don't. You're a Chelsea fan.
Looking at the worst fixtures, though, I mean, Aston Villa, they're really terrible fixtures the next 4 games: Chelsea, Everton, Man United, Tottenham. So for Villa owners like me, Danny Ings surely has to be out,
Has to be.
right?
Has to be.
Has
And
to
if
be.
you have money in your bank, aren't you going to go to DCL? Unless you're going to wildcard and go get Lukaku. But
Yeah,
Ings against Chelsea, Man United, Tottenham? No. Let's stop
DC,
joking.
DCL is obviously the favorite there, but it depends on his thigh injury that resulted in him being
His,
withdrawn from
his,
the England squad.
his little toe hurts as well, too, eh?
Oh, and that, yeah, and probably his ego having fought with Richarlison for the penalty over the weekend.
Yeah.
That was funny.
I was happy because I was like, oh my God, if he takes this penalty, I'm going to cry.
I was so
Nothing go my way. Antonio's 2 goals and assist. Please, please.
I really was hoping that he would take it from him, but he didn't. Sadly,
And I am so relieved.
the fixtures sorted by the attacking stats or attacking, yeah, stats very similar: Wolves, Arsenal, Brighton, Norwich, Leeds, Liverpool, and Watford. So out of those 7 teams, how many do you have? A good chunk of them, or are you looking to bring any of them in besides Arsenal?
Don't
We've
have any
mentioned
Wolves. Don't have any Arsenal. Got some Brighton, Norwich, Leeds. Leeds after the Liverpool game is definitely going to be a consideration. Maybe a midfield player. Wolves again. Wolves are some tempting players there. If they can start converting their chances, then definitely Leeds. Obviously Liverpool. I want to bring in Jota as well.
fair enough. For me, yeah, I'm
I can.
considering I'm considering Jimenez potentially. He's one of those strikers along with DCL and Lukaku and Bamford and Ronaldo and Kane. Like there's a whole bunch, right, that we're all considering. But Arsenal, I don't care about. Brighton, attacking wise, not going to buy any of their players. Same with Norwich. Leeds, I already have Rafinha. I've mentioned Bamford, maybe. Liverpool, I've got Salah and Trent. Will I get Jota? Maybe. I won't rule it out. It's one of those moves. I might, if I end up going for Ronaldo up front, then instead of going with Torres, like a lot of people will, I might go with Jota instead, just to be slightly different.
Go
And
with both.
or that maybe, but I have Rafinha, so I don't have a spot for everyone. And Watford, I have the Watford striker, Dennis, at 5
Yeah.
million, even though he's not going to play much. But if I need someone to come off the bench, I've got a guy who's got good fixtures these next 4 games. So potential, if need be, maybe a return.
It's quite interesting because at the beginning of the season, I remember thinking, oh, I want to stack my midfield and maybe have two strikers. I just didn't see those opening games many places for forwards. And suddenly you have Ronaldo, Lukaku, Kane. Who else? Who else we
Bam-
got?
Bamford, Jimenez.
DCL, Antonio, Bamford. Oh, just it's great. It's nice
Lacazette.
because uh, he might not even be at Arsenal. And I think it's nice because maybe people will start having more varied attacks, more varied teams because everyone has had the same looking team for the first 3 weeks. So
Yeah.
apart from me, I had Barnes in my team.
Although, I mean, looking at the fixtures, at the defensive fixtures, looking at the
Yeah.
teams that have the worst fixtures, do you think we should be targeting the likes of Southampton, Aston Villa, Brentford, and Burnley, and Crystal Palace? I mean, they have Southampton have West Ham, City, Wolves, Chelsea, Leeds. Villa have Chelsea, Everton, Man United, Tottenham. Brentford, okay, Brighton, Wolves, Liverpool, West Ham, Chelsea, and then Crystal Palace have Tottenham and Liverpool. What do you think? Should we target them?
You mean target players playing those teams?
Yes, target those clubs. So target West Ham, City, Chelsea at the moment.
I mean, they're teams that I would ignore if I'm bringing in players, but target specifically, probably not. I think Brentford's next two fixtures are okay. If you have Tony
Yeah,
in your team, I would keep Tony. It's the three following fixtures: Liverpool, West Ham, and Chelsea, where I'd probably say goodbye to Tony. But if you have Tony in your team, why not keep him?
yeah, I get that, but I mean more from an attacking standpoint. So would you try and buy? Let's look at
Hmm.
Brighton's fixtures. So I mean
Yeah,
Brentford's fixtures. Would
I
you
was going to
you're
say why
targeting
Brian.
their
Yeah.
you're targeting their defense? So would you buy a Brighton striker or Jimenez, for example? Jimenez in the second in game week 5 plays Brentford, and
Yeah.
they have a bad defensive fixture going forward, and they've got their stats weren't that great either. So would you focus on getting a team that play an attacker that plays against Brentford or that plays against Southampton?
Uh, I'd I probably wouldn't focus on. I'd look at a player's next 5, 6, 7 fixtures and look at their price. I probably wouldn't just think, okay, it's Southampton, okay, it's West Ham, West Ham, Southampton. Sorry, I'm used to West Ham being a bad team. What happened? Yeah, Southampton, Aston Villa, Brentford. I'm not particularly going to do that, but
Fair
if you
enough.
do it, great, good for you.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment you're sitting with double Man City, and they play Southampton and Leicester next up.
Uh, well, you say I have double Man City, but the chances of having double Man City are quite slim.
Oh, yes. If we get to the
I
wild
don't. I
card.
don't think. Yeah, I think if I wildcard, Grealish is probably not going to be in that wildcard, is he? He's a premium price.
He is.
8 million is quite a lot compared to the rest of the teams at the moment who are doing so well.
Couldn't agree more. And speaking of wildcards, you're speaking about, or you're hinting towards this wildcard draft that you might have. And on screen, we have one of
Yeah.
your wildcard drafts. So take us through it. Is this what you're going to be looking to do formation wise or structure wise? You might not be keeping the same players, but the
Yeah.
price point.
I'll tell you what happened. I was at work and there was this person called Challen. He texted me. He said, "Hey, put a wildcard draft together." And I said, "I'm working." And I thought, I've got a minute. I'll jump on my phone and I'll do it. Send him a screenshot. So obviously, this could change a lot. The problem is, if you're bringing in the premium players, I want to bring in a Ronaldo. I have to lose a premium player. I'm not going to lose Salah. Don't want to lose Salah. I want him in my team the entire Premier League season if I can. So I'm going to lose Fernandez. So I lose Fernandez, I bring in Ronaldo. There's that. But also, if I'm bringing in Ronaldo and I want to keep Calvert Lewin, that's a lot of money. I'm going to have to also sacrifice someone else in my team. And I want to keep the defense strong as well. I don't want to lose Trent. So, players I have to keep Trent, I have to keep Salah. If I do that and I have Ronaldo, I can't bring in Son. So, looking at the midfield, I have a mid priced midfielder from West Ham. Yotaf, Liverpool, I think he's going to be excellent. Gray from Everton, because I think the next three fixtures for Everton are gold dust. Gold dust. And then Man City hop onto the train. Grealish, no more. Man City don't have a striker. Look who it is. It's Torres. Points in the bag, baby. And then Alonso from Chelsea, because you support Chelsea. I should honor your wish. But also, this draft has 0.6 in the bank.
Yeah, it does.
So it's quite good. I think it's really good. Obviously, the third place for the striker, it's a 4.5 again, knock off.
So
But then
this would
go
be.
to the next one.
I will in a second. So you'd be playing a 3-5-2 most weeks with this wild card.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what I'd be looking at. 3-5-2.
With Trent obviously, so probably Sufal the second one, and then you can rotate the others. Fair enough, makes
Yeah,
sense. I mean, this could change depending on Calvert-Lewin's fitness or uh, any other
yeah,
potential news. The
yeah,
glaring
absolutely.
the glaring omission over here is the fact that you don't have the informed striker in Antonio, right?
Yeah,
Which is
it's
why you made the
this
second one.
is okay, and I think one is a good comment. Why am I so stubborn and not getting an Antonio? I am backing Calvert Lewin for these fixtures. I've had him since the beginning, and I'm backing my boy, backing him home. So that is one reason. There's a few omissions from this team that I'd probably tweak. I'd probably bring in a Wolves player. I'd possibly bring in a Leeds player. So then on to the second draft.
Okay, this is the what we'll call the Antonio draft.
Yeah, this is Antonio's draft. This is where the money is in the forwards with a fantastic front line. Ronaldo, Antonio, and Calvert Lewin. Is that not beautiful, Challen?
I think that might end up being the template going forward. It'll be Calvert-Lewin, Antonio, and then either Lukaku or Ronaldo or Kane.
Yeah. I think as well, I think Ronaldo's fixtures, he comes in against Newcastle. That's a perfect fixture, I think. Lukaku's fixtures week 7 or week 8 really swing. Like he has a really amazing run of games. So I think if you have Ronaldo for 3-4 weeks and then you swap to Lukaku when his fixtures change, I think that's good as well.
It's not a bad idea. Would you not be tempted by? Let's look at the rest of the team. Okay, the defense is the same.
Mm.
Would you not be tempted by
Defense is the exact same.
Torres to Jota?
Yeah. So this is the one I was thinking of where Torres, maybe I'd go to Jota or maybe I would go to a Leeds player.
Okay. Yeah, it depends.
And
Like you can give Torres 2 weeks even, and then when their fixtures turn in when they have Chelsea and
yeah,
Liverpool, you can switch to
you know,
Leeds or Liverpool.
exactly. I think Leicester haven't hit the ground running yet, and I think Man City could expose them. And then with Southampton the week after, I definitely probably want a Man City player in my team as well. And then once again, this draft also has 0.5 in the bank. So I think it's also a good draft, especially the front three.
I tend to agree. If I was to look at your two drafts, okay, just to put it out there, I haven't made a draft yet because I'm not planning on wildcarding. So I like the fact that Leighton's made two different drafts, which is quite nice. So thank you to him for his efforts. But the if I were to have made a draft, I think naturally I tend to enjoy having three strikers more. So
Yeah.
I like the idea of a Antonio, Calvert-Lewin, depending on what happens. Maybe Bamford, maybe Jimenez, and then, as you said, Ronaldo or one big hitter up front. And then in midfield, I'm not going to sell Salah, so Salah would be there. Bruno would have to go for someone else. Torres could be Jota. Bruno could be Greenwood potentially. So there are a lot of options there. And then I think in defense, the same. That structure is going to be the same for everyone again. Trent is going to be the big hitter. You're probably going to have maybe an Everton defender, probably a West Ham defender, and then maybe one or two 4.1s. There won't be many teams that have more than two or three of the big hitters in Ronaldo. It's probably going to be Ronaldo, or no, I should say, it's probably going to be Salah and then one of Ronaldo, Kane, or Lukaku. Bruno, I think, is out of it completely. And
Yeah, I think Bruno is going to be out.
For that reason, the reason why I say that I might wait for as long as possible, I think people are going to be jumping on the Ronaldo bandwagon. And if there's any news that he might not start, then I'm keeping Bruno, and then I'm probably going to captain him because many people will have sold him. And Bruno against Newcastle at home sounds like a good time. Potentially even Greenwood.
I think if I was in a position, I've activated a wild card, I find out Ronaldo's not playing that weekend, I would just put Bruno back in, keep the money in the bank, run with Bruno against Newcastle, and then bring in Ronaldo the week after. But I can't see Manchester United bringing in Ronaldo into the team and not playing him against Newcastle. I can't see that unless he picks up a knock against one of the teams they're playing in international duty. I think they're playing Ireland, Portugal, maybe. So I just don't see it.
Yeah, I think it'll totally depend on him. He'll make the decision, I think, whether he wants to play or not, and
Yeah.
they'll take it from there.
This is the football player with the biggest ego in the world, and he's going to say, I'm playing. It's
Yes.
Newcastle starting off with 3 goals, baby. Because you don't want to happen. What's happened to me with West Ham and Antonio could happen to you with Ronaldo, right? Everyone jumps on the Ronaldo train. He goes and scores 3 goals, and you're thinking, wow, great.
That
Haven't
could
got
happen.
Ronaldo.
That could happen, but at the same
Yeah.
time, this week, Chelsea play
After.
Aston
Yeah.
Villa. Aston Villa,
Mm.
if everything goes according to plan, if with regard to the quarantine protocols, etc., West Aston Villa might be without Martinez in goal and Buendia in midfield because they're Argentinian. So
Yeah.
they could be out, and that means a different goalkeeper and no attacking threat, which means that I might want to target Aston Villa and get Lukaku this week. And then,
Yeah, there's a lot of ifs this happen and why would this player be playing this game and Argentina play. So we have to wait a little bit longer. But I said from the first game week, I'd be really patient. I wanted to wait to game week 7 to activate a wild card. I wanted to really plan this season, but I didn't anticipate Lukaku moving to Chelsea and Ronaldo moving to Manchester United. So
if I
it's
asked,
really changed everything.
if I asked you right now, right before we finish, and I know
Yeah.
there's still like a good week before the whole international break and before game week 4,
Mhm.
but if the deadline was tonight or tomorrow, do you
Yeah.
think your wild card would be activated?
No.
Okay, so you would have
If if
two free transfers, and then you'd use them on
yeah,
something else.
yeah. If Because if it was this weekend, I wouldn't be sure of Ronaldo starting against Newcastle. That's one thing. But I get to watch Ronaldo play against Portugal. So I'm going to be able to watch him play and think, okay, he's going to play against Newcastle.
Okay, fair enough.
So also the reason I probably wouldn't activate it if it was this week is because with international duty, I've got 2 weeks to tinker with a wild card. I got more time to think. It's like going back to the beginning of the season. But if I wild card and I'm rushed, I think I'll just make too many rash choices.
That makes sense.
But I'm leaning towards a wild card. I'm a little bit behind other people, and I think taking an early wild card, taking a risk to bring in the likes of Ronaldo, I'm willing to do it.
Pressure wise or percentage wise, do you think you're more like 60-40 in favor of wildcarding?
Yeah, probably 60-40, yeah.
Okay.
Because I have one free transfer left. So I think I have 0.5 in the bank now. Do I have 0.5 in the bank? What
I
do I have?
think I think it was 0.5, more or less.
Let, let me double check. It might be a little less because my team value is awful. 0.2, right? So I couldn't, yeah, I'd have to make, if I want Ronaldo or Lukaku, I have to make 2 or 3 transfers. If I'm going to do 2 or 3 transfers and I'm going to take a hit, I might as well wildcard because it's easy to downgrade Ronaldo to Lukaku. You don't agree?
I do not. You have 3 transfers. Okay, you've used one, sure, and you have 0.2
Mm,
in the bank. If you want Ronaldo, if you
yeah,
decide that you want Ronaldo this week, or Lukaku for
yeah.
that matter, you can just easily get them in 2 moves, and that would be Bruno
Mm.
out, uh, the other striker. I'm not
Tony,
sure who's. Oh, Tony. Yeah, Tony out.
Tony.
So that those
Yeah,
two together gives you what, about 18, maybe 19 million ish.
no, 16 million.
Bruno's
Fernandez is
12.1, isn't he?
Oh, right. Yeah, you're right. Fernandez is 6, right? Sorry, I was looking at Obafemi. He's 4. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
So
So
12.1.
18.4.
Yeah. So then you get
Yeah, yeah,
Ronaldo, and you get, that's means you have 5.9 left. You can easily get
yeah.
Gray from Everton
Yeah, great. Yeah,
for -4, and then you still have a wild card to play in game week 7 for the Chelsea fixtures,
yeah. But then I still got Grealish in my team. I've still got Ben White in my team. I've still got
which is,
Simicast in my team. So there's some areas I can target as well.
yeah, I guess from that perspective. But you could easily fix Ben White, and you don't mind holding Grealish for the next 2 games because they play Leicester and Southampton.
Yeah,
So I think, yeah, if there ends up being serious injuries for Calvert Lewin and all these other things end up happening, then I can get on board with a wild card from your perspective. But it's very subjective, so look at your
yeah,
teams and then decide.
exactly. If you think there's 6 positions you're going to swap, then I'd say go for it. If you're going to get Ronaldo and you're going to get other players in, and you're going to strengthen the team, why not?
Why not? And it's probably more fun as well, right? Got to make this game fun.
Yeah, the game's got to be fun as well. I think we take it quite seriously at times, don't we?
We do. I know I do. But
But
yeah,
I think normally we go into the season and we think, because actually, I want to plan a wild card, but actually sometimes it happens just because I think, okay, my team needs some fresh faces. I want to make more than 4 transfers. So I didn't plan at all to have such an early wild card, but possibly.
I might end up just having a look at trying to get Antonio, Ronaldo, and Lukaku into one draft, and with Salah, just to see if I can do it. I just want to see if it's possible, and then
Wait. Antonio, Lukaku,
and
Salah, Ronaldo.
yeah,
I know you got some good team value, but if you can get Lukaku, Ronaldo, Salah, Trent, Antonio in the same team and you don't wildcard, I would be shocked.
no, kind of that would be with a wild.
Unless the rest of the team, unless the rest of the team is like Duffy, because it's just like 4.1 sprinkled around. Because I've seen some really ridiculous drafts out there. Like, what about this one? And it's Ronaldo and Lukaku, but the rest of the team is just awful.
Exactly. So I mean, you're gonna have to wait for next week or whenever, right before deadline, to see what my team looks like, and the same with yours. But we should
Same with mine because I haven't activated wildcard and probably not going to for at least a week,
don't
maybe.
blame you. We should probably plug some of the social medias, right? Because
Plug away, Chala.
we've been going for quite a while. I did not realize that. Do you know how long it's been?
Oh, yes, been a while. An hour 20, maybe?
Good guess. Hour 15.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a long one this week, but fair enough. It's a wildcard chat, so why not? If you want to follow us on social media, you can follow us on Twitter or Instagram at FanChallenged. I got it wrong last week. I said at FantasyChallenged. It's wrong. Last week was a really bad week overall. But at FanChallenged on Twitter and Instagram. Follow us, DM us, like us, all those nice things. If you want to watch the videos, you can watch them on YouTube at Fantasy Challenge. There we go. And if you prefer to listen to your podcast in audio format, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever else you may listen to them. Are you excited for the international break, Leighton?
Not really.
Fair enough.
I'm excited for a little bit of a break from fantasy football, a little
Yeah,
bit of a respite. But yeah, I am.
I agree with that. And
It'd be good.
on that note, enjoy the
I
break.
agree with that.
Thanks for pointing that out. That's my buzzword that I use more often than not. But yes, on that note, enjoy the break to you and everyone else listening. Have a good week, and we'll see you after the international break. Goodbye, everyone. Bye, Leighton.
Goodbye.